You're listening to the Multiverse Fancast, proud member of the Misfit Faction Media Network.
All right, then. On with the show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Multiverse Fancast. Don't forget, you can take us on the go with Podbean, Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, or any other listening stations. You can also check out our content on our website, themisfitfaction.com, where you'll find links to our podcasts, as well as Rob's articles that he writes every so often, whenever there's shows out to write about.
As opposed to the articles that people speak.
Yes. And with me in the studio, as always, is Paul. Paul, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm so good, Ronnie. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Can't complain at all. Anything else you want to add there?
No, I'm good.
Other than
You look
dead
like
air.
you want to.
No, I'm good. I'm good.
All right. And we are also joined by Rob. Rob, how are you?
I'm awesome, and I'm happy to be here.
Awesome.
Privet! That's Russian for hello.
And with that being said, we're going to keep moving on. So we are here today to talk about The Kingsman. So it's a movie that came out a couple weeks ago.
Are you sure it's not King's Men?
I'm pretty sure it's Kingsman.
I think it's King's
You're
Men.
wrong.
Just look back on our previous episode about this, and you'll
insert-
know I called you all out on it.
Insert link here.
What makes you think I can know how to do that? I barely edit, guys.
But yeah, so we are finally doing our review on this pretty good movie. But before we get
Rob
into
hated it.
that, we do have a little bit of news. So Rob's going to take it away.
A little bit of news, mostly around two items. I'll go for the shorter one first. Morbius has been delayed until April the 1st. It was supposed to come out
'Cause
in
it's a
about
joke?
2 weeks, and now they moved it to April 1st. Now, there are two possibilities as to why. One is because of the rise of the Omicron variant, and COVID is just sort of really out of control. I think I heard a statistic that something like yesterday there was like 330,000 new cases in America, and that's just the ones that they're able to find. So they were worried about theater attendance, so they stopped. Another reason, though, that's being rumored is that Spider-Man No Way Home has greater legs than they thought it was going to have. It's
got 8.
It's got 8 legs. Actually, it's got 24 legs. There's 3 of them.
Spoilers.
And Spider-Man's got 3 variants. But it is doing much better than everyone are saying that they pushed it to April 1st because Spider-Man they didn't want to have Spider-Man money cutting into Morbius money. And since both properties are owned by Sony, they were a little worried about that. So they decided to push it to April 1st.
They were like, we got this $1 billion to spend before Morbius comes out on advertising for Morbius.
So I think this is the 6th time Morbius has been delayed.
Yeah, so just speaking to it from like a perspective of I've been watching this very carefully because I was actually excited for Morbius just as I was excited for Venom. Let's not talk about it. But obviously it can't be the COVID thing because if they were afraid that COVID was going to destroy the box office, I mean, look at Spider-Man. Spider-Man made over $1 billion.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
People will go see it if they're really truly
And
interested.
I don't think it even opened in China yet, which is a major market for Sony and Spider-Man.
So there's that. And then there are also rumors, and these are all just rumors, speculation, that there's a renewed interest in Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man.
Yes.
That is
It
well.
is-
I think there's just a renewed interest in Andrew Garfield.
Yes.
You know, he had an amazing year.
He's doing very well, and I think there's a greater sense of appreciation. I posted a meme the other day about how, like, everybody appreciates Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, but I'm sitting there going, I was there. I was the first. And if you guys listen to our episode where we talked about the Amazing Spider-Man series, I always said he was my favorite Spider-Man and my least favorite Spider-Man movies.
Yeah.
So there are rumors. This is all rumors. This is not us saying that this is fact. That reshoots are happening that include Andrew Garfield in the Morbius Spider-Man movie. Because there's still a lot of speculation as to what universe this movie takes place in.
Right.
Yeah.
They have a trailer that references Venom. They have they have trailers that reference Michael Keaton as the Vulture.
Who was not spoilers, but was nowhere in No Way Home.
Correct, which was another strange thing. But so there are a lot of rumors flying around. Spider-Man is one of the hottest properties at the moment. I mean, Spider-Man's always a very popular property. It's one of the most successful comic book properties of all time. But there's a lot of rumors now because now we see that people can handle multiple stories with multiple versions of the same character. We got the Batman also coming out, which is another thing. And then the Flash is coming out. And, Ben Affleck just said that he's done. This is his last time being Batman, and it's some of his favorite stuff. And there's a lot of rumors about DC, too, with all that stuff. So we won't know until the movie actually comes out, but I'm getting a lot of New Mutants vibes from all this.
Yeah.
Ooh.
That
Did
movie,
you ever end up seeing New Mutants?
I just saw as much of it as I can stomach. So the opening scene.
And that was only an hour and a half movie.
Yeah, and that was another movie that they kept pushing and they kept pushing and they kept pushing and they kept pushing, and then reshoots and this and then that.
And then they were going back to their original vision of horror, and then they were Anna Taylor-Joy, and then
So that's where we're at with Morbius. Any other news?
I've got two, and they're both linked to the same property, The Boys. So The Boys season 3 has been announced for a date. We have an official date is June 3rd. Yep. And on that date, they are dropping 3 episodes, which is official. So it will be, they're calling it the Summer of Herogasm. I'll let you know what that is when it comes.
So other than the fact that they are adapting one of their more racier, risque, and that's saying something for The Boys storylines, we don't really want to get too much into detail until it actually happens, because it's The Boys has taken a lot of liberties with the source material, and some of it to great effect. So it's going to be interesting, and rather than speculate what they could be showing, we'll wait till
I do have to say that every time they veer off from the source material, it's always for the better. Like the show, I think, actually improves the source material.
Agreed.
The second bit of information I have is also linked to The Boys, which is that they announced a spin-off series. So let me read this description to you here. It says, the new drama is described as a Hunger Games-esque R-rated drama set on the campus of America's only super exclusive university, who compete for the best contracts being drafted out to cities like Los Angeles and New York. And then there's another description, which is on IMDb. It says, the lives of hormonal competitive soups as they put their physical, sexual, and moral boundaries to the test, competing for contracts in cities. I don't know what this could be about. I don't know how this spinoff is going to work.
It's almost it gives me like X-Men vibes.
Yeah.
Mixed with
triple X-Men.
Yeah, triple X-Men.
It's the triple X-Men.
Yeah.
I like that.
The triple X-Men with, like it said, Hunger Games involved almost, I don't know, it's going to be interesting, I guess.
As long as it's a lot of the same creators and writers, I don't see how they could go wrong, because they've been doing such great work on The Boys.
Phenomenal.
So. And that's all the news I have, are those 3 items.
Awesome.
Paul's got something. Go ahead.
Well, thank you, Rob, for your bit of news. But before we finish our news segment, Paul's got
news. Apparently, and this was announced today, that there is rumor that
we don't handle rumors.
No, but
rumor has it.
Supposedly, Warner Brothers is looking to sell the CW. This was sent to us by one of our listeners, Brendan. If you guys have ever listened to our show, he's been a big supporter, and I think he's been on Cinematic Adventures. He's been on.
Yes.
So there's rumor at this point that Warner Brothers is looking to sell the CW, the actual network. No news on who would be buying it, where it would go, what would happen to the shows. This is now the second time that the network has been bought. It used to be WB and UPN 9 back in the day. Yeah. Then they merged, and several shows, including Supernatural, Smallville, they all made the jump over to the brand new CW. But we'll see. There's nothing official yet, but it's surprising.
Are there many really hot shows on CW anymore?
Riverdale
still
Riverdale's
does okay.
It's doing okay. It's not
doing
like
okay.
Like what's in the zeitgeist right now?
You've got Naomi's coming out.
Naomi, I know about. Yeah,
Superman and Lois.
That's true.
The Flash is still on. Riverdale.
iZombie was a big one. Is that still on?
No, iZombie's gone.
A few years ago.
Roswell, they do. I think All American was another one.
But nothing that's like really at the cutting edge of what everyone's talking about.
No, it would be smarter if they wanted to sell the shows first and then sell it. But unfortunately, the shows are the selling point of the network. So we'll see what happens with that.
Be interesting to say, though. All right, so I think that's going to wrap us up for today's news. Before we get into our review of The Kingsmen, we're going to take a quick commercial break.
Today's episode is brought to you by Raise Energy Drinks from Rep Sports. Whether you're trying to crush your afternoon workout or just need a little extra pick-me-up, Raise Energy is just the boost that you're going to need. So if you go to repsports.com and any product that you order, enter the code MISFIT89 at checkout to receive 15% off. Anything that you guys buy from that store helps our network grow, and we fully appreciate everything you guys do. That's MISFIT89 at checkout, repsports.com.
Kingsmen.
Welcome back, everyone. We hope you had a nice little break. But we're going to jump right into our review of The Kingsman. What we're going to do is we're going to break everything down by character. And then, obviously, as we talk about the characters, we'll also be going over kind of the plot of it.
Not by reputation?
Got it.
I don't get it.
Oh,
They make the comments about reputation versus character in this movie several times. It's like a plot point, and
I still don't get it.
that's going to be actually the title of the episode. I don't get it.
Rob doesn't get it.
Rob doesn't get it.
All right. But we're going to lead things off
With a spoiler warning.
No, at this point,
Well, we'll just do it.
this has been out for 3 weeks, so hopefully,
and to much diminishing returns in terms of box office too.
yeah.
I don't even know what the budget was. They can't find
We'll
it.
talk about that a little bit later, when we talk about our overall review of the movie and everything. We'll go into all those fine details. But to get things started off, we have Ralph Fiennes, who plays Orlando Oxford.
Well done on the name pronunciation.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks,
All
Google.
No, I knew that all in my brain. Just kidding.
It was like a 10-minute discussion, too.
It really
yeah,
was.
there's a few names in this cast that before we went on air that were like, all right, we got to figure out how to pronounce these, and we Googled a lot of
We
names.
figured it out, and I will still butcher it. Don't worry. But what do we think about Oxford?
I
Paul?
didn't know his name was Orlando.
Yeah,
I
right?
don't even know if they actually mentioned. They probably do, but
But not from memory, as far as we're concerned.
so I know we're not going to talk. We're going to talk spoilers, and we're going to talk, the plot. But I enjoyed his character. His character made sense throughout the movie. Like, you kind of understood where he was coming from. He saw an extreme act of violence against his wife, and he's a pacifist in the start of this movie. There were some very questionable things towards the end. The scene with him and Rasputin still really confuses and made me super uncomfortable. But otherwise, he gave it his all, and he does a lot of the physical stunts himself, which was really good. I enjoyed him as Arthur. If anybody's going to be Arthur by the end of the movie, it should be him.
Oh, yeah.
Voldemort. Good version of Voldemort.
Yeah, right.
But I enjoyed Arthur in this for the most part.
Awesome. Rob?
So you were asking me about Ralph Fiennes'
Yes.
role in this?
Yeah, his role in this and in the character.
I love Ralph Fiennes. I think he is an excellent actor. I've been watching. I remember him back from The English Patient back in, I think that was like 1992 or something like that. He's amazing. And everything he does, he brings a lot of. He elevates the material consistently. So it was, I have huge overall problems with this movie.
Yeah.
But in terms of him being a cog in the machine, he's probably one of the best cogs in there.
All right.
What about you, Ronnie?
I like the character. Kind of what you were saying, Paul. Like, you get where he's coming from the beginning. The whole thing with his son not wanting him to join military, not wanting him to travel or anything like that, after seeing what he saw, and it's almost in his way, in his eyes, it's his fault that his mom died, and his son's put in that position that he's in and everything. So it was just an interesting kind of backstory of the character and everything to see going forward, that we see with his character. Any other thoughts on Orlando?
I'm just glad he had a nose.
Yeah.
Years
Because
of
he
playing
knows what's
Voldemort.
going on.
He knows what's going on.
All right. Next up, then, we have Gemma Arterton. She plays Pollyanna, or Polly Wilkins. And at the end, we find out she's Galahad.
I love Gemma Arterton. I really do.
In this or in general?
In general.
I don't know her. I know the name, but I don't.
She's one of those
how do I know
actors. I think it was Clash of the Titans, whatever the first one they did was.
Okay.
That was the first time I ever saw her. She was in Quantum of Solace, one of the James Bond films, and she's just one of those actresses that I just really enjoy, and I loved her in this. She was like the stern, like, not maternal figure, I guess, but like the badass chick. And there were plenty of times where we're sitting there and I'm listening to her, and I look over at producer Melanie, and I'm like, that's you.
What did she do that was so awesome in this film?
I thought she was badass in a time where especially women couldn't be badasses, and there was a time like where she was better. like.
Well, no, I mean specifically, like, what were the moments? Because I'm trying to remember, and I don't really
When she
remember her
shoots
being in many
the
scenes.
the fake blade out of I'm gonna butcher his name.
I can't do it.
Djimon Hounsou.
I got this one. Djimon Hounsou.
Okay, thank you. You know, at the beginning when he's practicing the knife fighting, with Conrad, and she shoots.
But that's the thing, is that like she just stands there and does something and then says something witty, and that was it for me. I didn't see her as actually being consequential to the film, other than like she was a deus ex machina. She was just that person that was there at the right time to do the thing that needed to be done.
Yeah.
I mean, I can assume everybody else would have figured out how to break that code all by themselves too.
That was the I will give that to you. That's the
figure
only
out how
thing
to
that
create a network.
That's the only moment that she showed any character, was when she was struggling to put the code together, and even that wasn't even done in real time. That was a montage, so it was just like moments.
Or even like putting together a network of spies.
If we saw her putting that together, yes, I would give it to you. But just to say, oh, she did this, that doesn't give me anything.
I think what Rob's trying to say is like, we understand that she did a lot, but we just don't see her doing it.
Right.
That's his issue, is you just, oh, yeah, I did that.
Do you remember your English teacher telling you this all the time in your essays? Don't tell us you did those things. Show us those things happening.
How do you show something in an essay?
By telling the
story. By using descriptive
words. But that's telling.
But don't tell me that you won the championship. Show me the details of you leading up to the winning of that championship, and then I'll appreciate the story that much more.
That's me telling you what I did.
No. But he's saying,
give me the details.
He's saying, write down the steps that you did, the practicing, the training and all that to win the championship. For this character, it was almost just, hey, oh yeah, she figured that out.
She did this.
I mean, in a matter of film-wise, 2 seconds, but we see it took her more like, say, 2 weeks or something like that.
Right, and how many times? I can think of 2 times in the movie where they just, all of a sudden you saw someone getting shot or something getting shot, and everyone went, where'd that come from? And then you saw her with the smoking gun.
Yeah.
I don't want to see, I want to see her struggling to find the aim, and then not wanting to hit the wrong person, and then like I want to see character.
Would you kind of sort of get towards the end where she's in the little like shed?
That was the few moments. Yeah, there's a moment that Ronnie's talking about where she's in a shed and she's with rifle and she's taking out different people at the bottom of the elevator. Yes, I wanted to see more like that.
Yeah.
That was one of the few moments that I actually was like,
you don't
wow,
want to
that's
just see
awesome.
the end result. You
Yeah.
wanted to see the whole thing.
So
I get where you're
wanted
coming
to see
from.
a montage of her getting
Not
better.
a montage.
But no,
wanted to-
here's my point, and I sat quietly and listened.
Thank you.
So you're saying that you want to see that struggle, that inability to do something at a perfect level that she sometimes portrays. Like she's the one that kills Rasputin when all the boys couldn't do it.
Right.
And she did it because
when they left the mess.
Well, yeah, but also that was a payoff to an earlier scene. When she shoots the knife out of his hand, she specifically says, "This is the time of bullets. Learn how to use a gun."
Right.
I don't need to see. We had plenty of montages and scenes of people improving over time. We got an entire thing with Conrad getting better and learning to be a soldier. I am totally fine with having a character that just has a natural skill set just come onto the screen, and I don't need to know.
That's fine, but like compare what she does to, say, Channing Tatum in the previous film, where we saw him with, was he the one with the whip?
No. Pedro Pascal.
But no, I mean in the winery there, when it's in the Scotch winery. Remember when he first confronts them
and he beats the crap out of them?
Yeah, like that's a scene where he shows mastery, but at least he's displaying mastery.
I guess. I mean, I have you fired a gun?
Yes. Why?
Just hitting a target like a knife out of somebody's hand without damaging the hand. I thought that was a perfect
but
show
like,
of mastery.
But it's not enough just to see that one shot. I want to see skills that are encompassing everything she's able to do.
I think what Rob's trying to say too is the fact that she deserved maybe a little bit more screen time than what she was given.
Okay. Yeah, she was just that character that showed up at the right moment.
Yeah. All right. So moving on, right? We have Rhys Ifans. He plays Grigory Rasputin. I did not like Rasputin at all.
Wow.
Okay.
Tell us why.
It was a weird character. and it was hard to decipher what he actually is, like what he actually does, because in the movie he ends up healing Oxford's leg, right? But it's almost like, did he drug him? Like,
Right.
does he actually do it? Because you see earlier where he's controlling what the heck was
that Tsar Nicholas?
Tsar, was it
I
Tsar
don't know.
Nicholas?
I'm guessing.
Whoever it was. I can't remember either who it was. But then you see him like dripping this stuff into their mouths afterwards. So it's almost like, is he drugging them to make them believe
complacent,
that they're
yeah.
actually
Right.
better or
Because
doing
he does
what's right?
stab Djimon Hounsou later with it, and he gets
Yes.
all foggy. So there's
It's
definitely
opium. They specifically
Oh,
say.
did they? I
yeah,
missed
they
that.
specifically say that
Okay.
it's opium.
Yeah. So like part of me was like, does he actually heal them at all? Like, is Oxford's leg actually healed? Which obviously I guess it is, because you see him
Right.
later on in the movie. But it was just weird to see, and the fact that they make him seem immortal by getting stabbed and slashed all over.
Oh, that's historically accurate.
Yeah, well, no, I know, but then a gunshot that inflicts the pain kills him. So is it? If I would have stabbed him in the head, would that have worked?
Well, Paul was saying that that actually is historically accurate.
Yeah.
That he was stabbed, poisoned, shot, drowned, and he survived all of them. But when they finally found him dead, it was
Bullet wound to the head.
Yeah. So I don't think all of those things happened at the same time like this. I think it was over a few attempts.
Yeah, Rasputin was one of those bigger than life actual historical figures that we'll never know that. But he was a messed up guy, and he did he used the son of the Tsar to keep control. I think he had hemophilia or something like that. The kid, and Rasputin was able
really?
to So, but I agree with Ronnie. The whole scene with him and Orlando is very strange. And
Are you talking about the dinner scene?
When they go into the study.
Okay.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's fantastic. When they first interactions, and they try and send Conrad in, and Conrad's just terrible.
Yeah.
But the scene where the healing of the leg, I agree. I feel like they should have shown, because they address it. They're like, why is he acting weird? But then they didn't.
And then he's licking his leg.
It was a very weird scene. And if they had just said, oh, he drugged me.
Yeah.
Because at this, what is it, 1909-ish?
1912.
14.
Was it 14?
Well, 1914 is when Archduke was assassinated.
So the movie starts in 1902, and then it jumps 12 years.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So 1914, and things like morphine and high pain killing drugs are around. I don't know. We didn't do any historical research.
We
on
were
this one.
actually, producer Melanie and I were both looking up historical things in the theater on either side of Paul, and he was getting blinded by our phones.
It was so distracting.
Blinded by
Even with the low lights. But
Yeah.
if they had just thrown in a line what did he put in my drink? Something along those lines, because it's almost like he's hypnotizing him.
Yeah.
And Kingsman has always been as out there as it has been. It's always has a sense of realism. The cell phone thing in the first movie. It's a neurological sound wave. It's things like that. And then suddenly to be magic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or even if they were he knows he has some sort of hypnotism. It's just because that's a skill set. That's an actual skill set that people are susceptible to. So I don't know. It was a weird scene. The fight scene itself was fantastic.
Yes, that was one of the few highlights of the movie for me, was that fight scene with the Russian dancing and everything.
Any fight scene in a Kingsman movie is always a good time. Even the ending one, which so many jump cuts, because obviously Ray Fiennes can only do as much as.
Is he 60?
He's up there.
He's up there.
He's definitely up there. So it was a little.
Now, I will say I liked Rhys Ifans', there it is, portrayal of Rasputin. For as weird as it was, I still, at least it was something that was drawing my eye, and I was getting a sense of, I was confused a little bit by the tone, because at times, I agree with you that at times it was is what's real, what's not, what's he after, what's his goal, what's he trying to do, what's only him accomplishing without intending to do. So I didn't know what was really going on with him, because his motives didn't seem very clear. But personality wise, I thought was funny and pretty good. The pedophilic stuff was icky. when he was trying to be with Conrad, because I leaned over to Paul and I'm like, isn't Conrad underage? So isn't this pedophilia?
Well, we find out
he was 18.
He was 18, which I guess does that make it okay?
There's probably just a legal. I think when they were calling him a minor, that he was just not legally able to sign up for the military.
Yeah.
Well, if you remember, this was the problem we were talking about last week with The Witcher, where you've got this underage girl and all these old men hitting on her, and it's like, ew, this is weird.
Unfortunately, and I think we mentioned it during our Witcher thing, it is an unfortunate product of its times. And again, this movie is very interesting because I like movies that play around with history.
Yes.
And I always enjoy them. You know, they were researching, you know, producer Melanie and Rob were looking up like the assassination of Franz Ferdinand, like all this stuff. And it's a lot of this stuff does line up loosely.
More so than I thought it was going to.
This whole movie reminded me of Assassin's Creed. And I don't know if anybody's familiar with the Assassin's Creed video games.
Yeah. Wait, are you talking about Assassin's Creed?
Not the
video?
movie.
Okay.
We don't talk about the movie.
No.
But the video games where they play with historical significance and, you know, throwing the assassins in instead. And so it gave me that this is what a good Assassin's Creed movie would have been.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, it's not the best Kingsman movie. I think we can all kind of agree on that one.
Is it even middle of the pack?
No. This is
This is the weakest of the three?
This is the weakest of the three for me anyway.
Me too.
Spoiler alert.
Okay, so we're all on the same page with that.
Yeah, but I think of differing opinions on the actual quality of the film.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But Rasputin, I was just, and again, sorry, spoilers, but the commercials led me to believe that he was one of the major parts of the movie, and he dies a third of the way into the movie.
Yeah, they almost made him seem like he was going to be like the big bad.
The actual bad guy, yeah.
And he's not at all in the slightest.
So let's get that out of the way. The trailers lied to us about this movie,
Which I like.
Yes.
I like when the trailers lie because now you're like, wait, that's actually what happened?
Let's be specific and say, what exactly do you feel the trailers lied about? Because I think we have different definitions here.
I will say that I thought Rasputin was going to be the main antagonist, and I thought that Conrad. Not only did I not know he was going to be the son, like Orlando's kid, but also I was under the opinion that he would take over the movie and that Ralph Fiennes would actually die in protecting him or something along those lines.
I feel that it lied to me too, but differently than that. What do you?
I would probably agree with Paul. It's just almost like the plot of it all. You know, like you knew obviously there was some bad guy behind it, but everything you saw, it was just Rasputin. You know, and it threw you off. You know, I wouldn't necessarily say it lied because he still is a bad guy in the movie, but
he's a pawn.
Yeah, but he's a pawn, and which again I like that it kind of throws you. It makes you look over here when over here is actually doing the work.
All right, so I'm okay when trailers lie to me in terms of like plot. What the problem I had with this film is that I feel the trailers lied to me in terms of tone. That the trailers indicated this was going to be one of the really fun Kingsman movies with like anachronistic, music playing. Like you remember they had AC/DC playing and they had the soldiers getting shot and everything, and people dancing around and making jokes and everything. None of that was in the movie at all. It was actually like, if you take the movie, it was like a spy version of Saving Private Ryan.
I was going to say that.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was going to say a spy version of like 1917, but I haven't seen that yet. So.
Yeah. I got major feels of Saving Private Ryan, especially in the battlefield scene and everything like that, which I did really like that. That's probably one of my favorite scenes.
I liked it, but not in my Kingsman movies.
Yeah.
Like, to me, this shouldn't have been a Kingsman movie for me. This should have been something totally different, and I think I would have maybe even enjoyed it a little bit better if it didn't have Kingsman attached to it at all.
Yeah.
But because it did, I had expectations knowing the previous two movies of like, wow, this is going to be just over-the-top satiric fun, and it wasn't. It was dour.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were a couple of moments even like, and we'll talk about it when we get to his character, but Conrad like dies in it, and it's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I forgot this was the bit.
It's okay to slip.
It's all right. It's fine. I slipped.
But speaking of Conrad, he's portrayed by Harris Dickinson.
Really? I know Harris isn't a very common name.
Harris is a funny name.
It really is.
I liked him. I understood him, but he did follow a lot of the son tropes of movies, especially of those times where it's like, I want to do the thing that you don't want me to do because it's the right thing to do. Like, nobody really learns their lesson in this movie. Like he finally he comes to the realization, my dad was always right. That's a trope. That's another trope. It's the parent was right the whole time, and then the parent's like, no, the kid was right the whole time. A lot of tropes. I don't want to call it lazy writing because like they sell it and they sell it well to a point, and I think it's well acted by both him and Ray Fiennes. But I just
mismanaged writing.
I think they should have committed to one way or the other.
Yeah.
Instead of like the kid realizes that the dad was right because he's been in 4 minutes of war, and then the dad was like, no, the son was right that I have to fight to be, and then he's successful. It's just. In all honesty, they really should have flipped the script a little bit on that. And like I said, have Orlando Oxford be like, no, pacifism is the way to go. And then he realizes that he has to fight, but it's too late, and he loses his life because he waited too long to get in the fight. Something along those lines. Yeah. I think a passing of the torch storyline would have been better. Because don't get me wrong, there was a huge shock factor.
Yeah, I was shocked as well.
And the scene of them in the trenches where they at nighttime is fantastic. The tension was there. That felt like a Kingsman scene just because like there was the tension, the beautiful fight choreography. It's overly violent, but at the same time, I agree with Rob. This movie does not fit the tone of the other Kingsman movies, and unfortunately, if you're going to do a prequel, like the movie that sets up your other movies, they should follow the same kind of fun like they could have made this movie so fun.
They
like
could have.
Rhys Ifans, when he's Rasputin, he's having fun.
Yes,
he's having a great time, and he is probably the most, I don't want to say fleshed out character, but the most alive character.
The most Kingsman-esque character.
Yeah. You know, he's like Poppy from Kingsman, the second one.
And that's the thing with a lot of Kingsman movies, they tout themselves as over-the-top satiric James Bond making fun of the spy genre. And okay, if you're going to make fun of the war genre, that's fine. You can do that, but they don't. They play it straight, and I'm like, why am I like I sitting in the theater? I was like, what is the point of any of this?
Dang it, that got sad.
Oh man.
Because I'll be honest, like I enjoyed the movie, I really did, and there are like the fun callbacks to the other movies, the manners maketh man type stuff, looking good, Orlando, feeling good, those things, and like you smile and you chuckle, but like I remember watching Kingsman and then watching the second one and chuckling. Sorry, watching Kingsman, sorry, but and chuckling and enjoying myself and being like, wow, well, this is like groundbreaking stuff. Like this is all the things that I love about this, both the spy genre and the satire genre. But we're watching this movie and I found myself just kind of sad during it.
Yeah. I felt that a lot of the origin stuff in there felt forced and shoehorned in. Like the lines, like the feeling good and everything, and like the clothes maketh man and all those things that they were just like, hey, this is from the previous two movies, we gotta stick it in this one. The only one that I did feel organic was the naming of like Merlin and Arthur and everything. Like that one, it was at least okay, that's kind of cool how that first came about, and now they set that up. But everything else just felt shoehorned in. Now I want to bring up one more other thing because I keep forgetting to bring this up. This movie I think also suffers from something the second movie suffered from, was too many plots. Like, how would this have played differently if they just cut the first 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Like, and just that he was somewhat kind of pacifist. His mother died years ago and whatever, know. And then we wouldn't have had to have that whole thing hanging over. But then the idea of, I encouraged my son into the army and this is what happened. Like that, just stick with that. That would have been fine. I don't think you had to have all these other, tentacles out there for it.
You know what movie this reminds me of? The Patriot with Mel Gibson and Heath Ledger.
I haven't seen The Patriot.
That's fine, but it's a very similar thing where Mel Gibson plays this pacifistic farmer because he did fight in a previous war and he was a butcher, like he was like a terrifying warrior, and he chose this pacifistic life, and then he loses one of his sons. And his oldest son, played by Heath Ledger, was like, I'm going to the war. I want to fight for America. Right. It gave me like major.
It sounds like it. Yeah.
And it's a period piece. It's during the American Revolutionary War, which is similar to I know it's 200 years difference, but like
no, but it sounds like it's the same template.
Very similar
template, and that's why this movie was just kind of like sitting in me wrong. Like I don't know.
Yeah. But moving on, in my opinion, we're going to talk about maybe the most Kingsman-y thing about this movie is Djimon Hounsou as Shola, and then later on Merlin. You know, I think he was as close to a Kingsman as we can get in this movie.
How so?
I think just the training aspect of training Conrad and everything, you know, to be the protector and everything. And then the scene of him, you know, jumping through when Polly's in the little shed thing towards the end, and he's, you know, jumping around and everything. Like, you actually see, like, somebody that you can see as a Kingsman. Like, I don't see Oxford as a Kingsman, really.
Right.
Oh, we
you
could
know,
have said
a
that
little
about,
bit.
Could have said that about who plays Harry in the first movie. It's gonna drive me crazy. The King's
Colin
Speed.
Firth?
Thank you.
Yeah.
I just his name was just not sitting there. Like, we could have said that about him too.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't expect him to start beating people up at the bar and then the
Yeah.
church scene. But I agree. Like, he also has the funniest lines of the movie. Like the line with him and about the airplane. Like,
Yeah.
if we were meant to fly, we'd have wings. Well, you drive the car. You don't have wheels.
Djimon Hounsou is another one that elevates the material every time he's in it.
He's very good. He always is. The first movie I ever saw him in was Never Back Down.
Yes.
And that's like a, you know, it's like a cheesy teenage coming of age story, but like with martial arts involved.
Yep.
But he killed it in that movie, and he was like one of the higher points of it.
Oscar nominated for Amistad.
Yes.
Yep.
And he, like Ronnie said, he brings that Kingsman physicality to it.
He does.
When he does the knife fight with Rasputin, it's fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
And you could tell it's a lot more of him than, you know, good old
Body
Orlando.
double. Yeah.
Well, and compare him, going back to Harris Dickinson, who plays Conrad. He was just a blank slate to me. He was like...
Conrad?
Who is it? He was like Jai Courtney before he got into Captain Boomerang. That I was like, why is he here? What is the purpose?
He has
of
the one defining feature about him. That's it. That's
Who,
it.
Harris, or-
Yeah, or Conrad's character. Conrad's character has one defining feature.
the mustache.
No, we.
okay.
I will say a lot of solid mustaches in this
Oh,
movie.
yeah.
The
Oh, yeah.
mustache game is on point. But Conrad is, I'm going to war because it's the right thing to do, and a little bit of, you're not letting me out of the world. You know?
Yeah.
That was his one defining character trait, and there was nothing else about
Yeah,
him.
there wasn't.
Like,
Yeah, no.
unfortunately, like that, he fell flat, and but again, we thought he was
Literally.
going to be the main flat on his back. Yeah.
And I was also thinking, like, I think a better, maybe even slightly more recognizable actor in that role would have done a lot better for us, the audience.
I think for me, I wanted him to be Eggsy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what if they had put like Taron Egerton or something in this?
But see, what I'm trying to say is, I didn't know Taron Egerton,
Right.
and then he stole the show
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
Eggsy. He's like, to stand.
Oh, wait a
alongside-
minute. I'm thinking of the wrong person.
Yeah, probably. But
What's
to-
his name from?
Ansel Elgort.
Yes, thank you. That's who I was
That
thinking.
that
of.
would have been
Ansel
funny.
Elgort.
Actually, I'd be okay.
I'm amazed that you got that.
I've been watching West Side Story all week, guys.
Yes, Ansel.
Baby Driver.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's
Oh,
what I
Baby.
was going to say.
Yep.
Baby Driver.
Well
yes.
done. That's a solid reference.
Yeah.
But
how that would have been so much better having someone like that, because Harris Dickinson, I looked up stuff that he did and I'm like, I don't know this guy from anything, and,
Yeah.
and he's not memorable in the slightest.
we got to talk about some of these other cast members too. Like, they got some big.
Don't worry.
We got some big names
We
to
got some
not.
time.
Yeah, I know.
Who did nothing?
Who did nothing?
Yeah, go ahead,
Yeah.
Ronnie.
Are we done with
Djimon?
Djimon?
Yeah.
Hounsou?
yes.
He was a highlight.
Yeah. Next up, we're going to talk about three characters.
Ooh.
So this is Tom Hollander. He plays King George, Kaiser Wilhelm, and Tsar Nicholas.
Wait.
He's King George, who then becomes Percival.
Yeah.
Tom Hollander.
Oh, not Tom Holland.
Yeah, no. Did I say Tom Holland?
No, you didn't.
Oh, okay. I was just like, whoops.
He was playing three different characters.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
I
was
didn't
all
know
the
that.
he was all the cousins.
Oh, I guess I figured that out.
Right now that you're looking at it, you're like, oh, I see.
To the internet.
Well,
But you talked about mustaches earlier, so I figured we go there next.
They all had different mustaches. That's why Rob didn't recognize them.
That's like Superman when he wears his glasses.
Ah, yeah. See, you guys all gave me grief on that one.
Wait a minute. Who's Tom Holland? Because I read somewhere that Tom Holland was in this movie, and I was looking for him, and I didn't see him.
Tom
Who's
Hollander.
Tom Hollander?
The guy that plays King
That doesn't
George,
help.
Kaiser Wilhelm, and Tsar Nicholas.
Oh, that's his name? Oh, okay.
I
Yeah.
just pulled a
Tom
picture.
Hollander. Okay, I know him from In the Loop. Yeah, he's a very funny actor. Oh, I didn't realize he was playing different people.
Yeah.
Okay.
He played all three
Get that.
quote unquote kings.
I was so angry and frustrated with this movie that I didn't get that he was playing 3 different roles.
Yeah.
I knew him from the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise.
Yeah.
He plays Cutler Beckett.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know how I feel about Tom Hollander in this. I mean, I think he did a great job being able to pull off 3 people, and no one knows that he pulled off 3 people.
I don't know if that's a good job, though. I knew it was him every time. I just didn't realize he was playing 3 different people.
But what are our thoughts on? Let's start with King George.
I'm out of this conversation.
Granted, that's the only one that we really see doing anything in this movie.
I think also the problem you have, and this is the problem that this movie boils down to. If you're going to do a Kingsman movie and do historical characters, they should be over the top and just weird and crazy.
Yeah.
Nobody in this movie, with the exception of
Rasputin.
four or 5 characters, are memorable.
No, they're not.
And it sucks too, because as much as we're gonna make fun of Rob viciously for not realizing that was the same actor playing 3 characters.
No, I knew it was the same actor. I just didn't know it was 3 different characters.
And that says a lot about
that's
this.
worse.
I'm like, oh, he's back again. Oh, he's here again. Oh, wait.
He changed his mustache. Before it was
I
curled
did.
up,
I
now
thought
it's
it
curled down.
was showing passage of time. I didn't know it was 3 different characters.
Yes, he played King George, Kaiser
Well,
Wilhelm.
now that you pointed
and
out
Tsar
to me, I
Nicholas.
realize it.
So there are plenty of movies where actors portray multiple characters, right? A perfect example is Mars Attacks. Jack Nicholson plays 2 characters in it, and they are completely different under every circumstance. And that's the point. One's over the top, one's a little bit more reserved. If you're going to do something like this is your chance to really satirize. And I don't understand. And Matthew Vaughn still did this movie. He directed the other ones too.
Yeah,
And
I know.
I
don't
love
get that.
Matthew Vaughn. And there are times where you see his style of direction. But man, this movie does not feel like a Kingsman movie. And it sucks because I walked out enjoying it. And now I'm sitting here going, but did I?
Yeah.
Well, another movie I want to draw attention to. I don't know how familiar you guys are with it. Doctor Strangelove.
And how I learned how to love the
Oh,
atomic bomb.
you are familiar with it.
Yeah, this is the war room. There's no fighting in here.
Oh, that might be hands down my favorite comedy of all time.
Oh, it is fantastic.
And Peter Sellers is in it, and Peter Sellers plays a few different characters in it too. But those characters are so vastly different from one another too. He plays the President of the United States. He plays Doctor Strangelove himself, and I think he plays one other.
Possibly.
I know he was supposed to play Slim Pickens' role, but he didn't. But like that, Peter Sellers is another. Alec Guinness, he's another one that plays multiple characters in a movie, but yet you can tell they're different. Whereas Tom Hollander,
You forgot one of the biggest people.
who
Eddie Murphy.
Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
What do you mean biggest?
That's exactly why I said it.
All right, carry on.
All right.
Let's get off Tom Hollander. please.
Next up, we have Daniel
Yay.
Brühl as Eric Jan Hanussen.
I'm afraid he's going to get typecast as
I know.
the foreign bad guy almost trope. I really do enjoy him though. Obviously, we know him as Baron Zemo from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but I loved him in The Alienist. He was fantastic in that show.
Oh, I don't know that one.
It was again another period piece type show where him, Luke Evans, and that other young lady whose name escapes me right now, but he plays an alienist basically in 1910s New York.
I'm sorry. What is an alienist?
The study of people with mental ailments.
Oh, okay.
Right. So like back then, that's what they were called,
Okay.
alienists, because they were studying the
Alien aspects.
Yeah.
I didn't realize this until I looked him up earlier that he was in Inglourious Bastards.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
I love that movie.
Yeah.
And that's another example
Yeah.
of the satire of a historical
Yes.
fact.
Yep.
Like, that's what this movie should have been. I'm sorry.
I know.
Yeah. I mean,
He's in it.
he's in it. I mean, what the thing I'm confused about. So, for those that don't know, we have a mid-credit scene, and in it we get introduced to Hitler. In it, so the actual character Eric Jan Hanussen was an Austrian Jewish publicist. So you're telling me this Jewish person is working with Hitler?
Well, he's also a hypnotist, mentalist,
Yes.
occultist, and astrologer. Good for him.
Right?
Remember when those were like exceptionally valid careers?
Yeah.
Like, not to downplay it at this point, but like Yeah, it was weird. Like back in the early 1900s, I like if I knew my horoscopes, I was a wizard.
Right?
Now I have an app on my phone.
But I'm just curious to see that what goes on, because it seems like we're going to get another movie.
And so that's what I wanted to bring up. It seemed like they were setting this movie up for a sequel, but I don't want one. I don't want a sequel to a prequel. You know what they call that? The main series.
Yeah.
Right? It's almost like they were trying to set up like another movie, because we'll get to him. We might as well just talk to him about him now. They cast Aaron Taylor Johnson and Stanley Tucci as two members.
And David Cross as Hitler.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that was David Cross.
Yeah.
So they hire all these like exceptionally decent names. Like I love Aaron Taylor Johnson, and I will defend Quicksilver to the end of the day. I thought he was way more fleshed out than he was in. Talk about a Deus Ex Machina. X-Men Quicksilver is the worst Deus
Agreed.
Ex
100%.
Machina, to the point where they have to constantly take him out of the fight.
Yeah.
But I really enjoy Aaron Taylor Johnson, and I enjoy his work.
Oh, Kick-Ass. You know.
Yeah, he's Kick-Ass, and we're going to definitely talk about Kick-Ass at some point, because now they're talking about rebooting it.
Yeah.
But I like we see him in the movie, and I was like, "Is that Aaron Taylor Johnson?"
Yeah,
right?
I leaned over to you. You made some comment, and I'm like, "Who is that?" I
was like, "It's
to tell
Quicksilver."
me. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, it is."
Yeah.
And then obviously they put him in as one of the founders of Kingsman.
Yeah,
but for what reason?
But he's only in it
Because
for
he has the
4
connection
minutes.
to Conrad.
Yeah,
That's
so,
it.
I don't know. I just thought it was a really
Actually, let's face it. He's got a connection to Matthew Vaughn.
That's fair. That's
Yeah, that's
exceptionally fair. But again, Stanley Tucci too. I was like, oh my god, that's Stanley Tucci.
Yeah.
Stanley Tucci, I think, has 3 lines in the movie.
Yeah. And then it's just weird that it really felt like they were trying to set up
And if I may bring up the box office now.
rough.
Yeah, so what we'll do is
since we're talking about sequels.
Yeah, what we'll do from here is I think we kind of went over the
cast members we
cast
really
for the
wanna
most
talk
part,
about.
and we kind of went over.
I will give
the
a shout
plot.
out to Charles Dance, who's in it too. For you, I know you guys wouldn't have recognized him, but he's a big Game of Thrones person, so it was just neat to see him in there.
Okay. Yeah, but yeah, we'll kind of just get into our thoughts of the movie in its entirety and everything. But yeah, Rob.
So opening weekend in America, it opened to $5.9 million.
So it didn't make its money.
That is not good. And I believe it came out 5 days after Spider-Man, which again was a problem.
Yeah.
Because Spider-Man came out December 17th, and this came out December 22nd.
Yeah.
So it was a Christmas movie. We should also mention that this was being distributed by 20th Century Fox, which technically doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is kind of a holdover from there too.
Yeah, because I mean, it was supposed to originally come out in 2019.
Something like that.
I
Yeah.
think.
It so far has made $22.7 million in America.
Yeah.
After 17 days. Internationally, it made $30 million, so it's right now sitting on $53 million that it's made. Now, I looked up to find out what the budget is for the movie, and nobody knows, but they did say that the second Kingsman movie had a budget of $104 million.
Right.
So it's got to be probably around there.
That. You would
and
think.
remember, that's when they say budget. That's just how much to make the movie. That doesn't usually
No
count
marketing
and
stuff.
publicity, right? So this movie is absolutely going to be. I think it's safe to consider this financially a bomb.
Yeah.
Because Disney and 20th Century Fox are going to owe money on this movie.
And then it brings up the question, right? They're starting production on Kingsman 3, I think in September. That's the goal, with Eggsy and Harry coming back. I refer to them by their character names, not the actor names. Who cares? But these movies have always been relatively successful enough that they keep making new ones. But I definitely think that this movie suffered. It suffered from a lot of things. It suffered from fighting Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yeah.
Nobody could have predicted that the third Spider-Man movie of the series was going to just run the world the way that it did. Especially, we did mention COVID and Omicron and all that stuff has been on the rise. So a lot of people are a little bit more hesitant about going out. And this movie also it only went to theaters. So it really brings up the question, do they want to consider this one of the COVID failures and just chalk it up to that? So that way they can justify making more of this series? Because I want to see Kingsman 3. Even though Kingsman the Secret Service, Kingsman the Golden Circle ended with that happy ending for Eggsy and kind of tied it up, I want to see Channing Tatum as a Kingsman.
Yeah.
I want to see Eggsy come to fruition, and unfortunately I do think he's going to die in the next movie.
Yeah.
But I want to see more of this world, and it makes me sad that we were excited. We were excited for this movie.
Yeah.
We really were, and now we're sitting here kind of going,
Yeah, it was
dang it.
a big disappointment.
All right, let's go around doing some final thoughts on this before we give our Star City ratings. Or actually, scratch that. Star City ratings while giving your final thoughts.
Okay.
Who would like to go first, gentlemen?
I'll go first. I'm going to give this movie a 2.5. It is a completely average movie. I think my thoughts are going to change. You know, we've had a lot of discussions behind the scenes about when we should record episodes, and sometimes seeing them right after we see a movie is not always the best idea. Right. But I think a movie like this, where like immediately we all got very objective about this movie.
Yeah.
And
which we should say for the audience, we just saw this movie about 2 hours ago.
Yeah, Rob still has his scarf on. Like,
it's a fashionable scarf.
I don't know after
That
watching.
no one can see right now.
I don't know after seeing scarves in this movie. I'm not wearing one.
It's not cashmere.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is it
God.
cashmere?
So for me, like, I was really excited to see this movie. The trailers definitely misled us about the tone of the movie, and that I can't abide. If I know the tone of a movie before I go into it, it makes the movie sit better for me, right? For this movie, there were some great moments. There was like some great fight scenes, some very good characters that I really did enjoy. But for a Kingsman movie where you watch like The Golden Circle, which is considered like not as good as the first one, they still introduced characters that I was like enthralled with.
Yeah.
Right? You introduce Channing Tatum owns it as whiskey or tequila, and he's only in the movie for like 4.5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then you had Pedro Pascal as whiskey, who you understood by the end of the movie where he was coming from. And was it right? No, but like I didn't. Nothing about this movie is memorable. But it had so many great ideas. Like we talked about it. I love when they play around with history and kind of line it up and do all those things. But yeah, 2.5. But I feel like it's going to go down to a 2.
Wow.
Yeah.
Which is really sad for a Kingsman movie.
Yeah. Rob?
I'm actually not far off from a lot of your comments and opinions there. I was checking I don't know if you noticed, I was checking my watch a lot during this movie. I was bored. I love the idea that they are playing with history. Like, I'll give you another example of a show that does that. I don't know if you've watched it at all. It's on Hulu. It's called The Great, and it's about Catherine the Great. And it's plays a lot with history. It is absolutely hysterical, and it's enjoyable. But it doesn't take history very seriously, and I'm okay with that. Whereas this one, it sometimes took it a little too seriously, and I wish they had more fun. Like this, Kingsman movies are supposed to be fun.
Yeah.
I didn't find myself having fun at all. Other than the Rasputin fight, which I thought was choreographed kind of neat. That was the only moment of fun I think I had. Everything else was like just dull and boring, and there were so many times I was like, what is the purpose of this movie? I mean, I know it's to set up that this is how the Kingsman came about, but why do I need to know all these other stories in order to do that? Why can't I just see one person's story? I also wished that we had seen the movie through one person's perspective. Like I have to say, I think the Kingsman movies are mostly Eggsy's perspective. This one, it was all over the place. It was, sometimes it was, Ralph Fiennes, sometimes it was his son, sometimes it was the people on a ship, sometimes it was Rasputin, and it was so unfocused, which another actor we didn't talk about, Matthew Good, as whatever he is. I will tell you, as soon as I saw Matthew Good, I went, he's the bad guy.
Yeah.
Like I knew it right away that he was behind everything. It was befuddling, this movie. It was severely unfocused. Now, having said that, I am actually agreeing with your 2.5.
Okay.
Because it didn't, as bad as it was, it never made me angry. And like a 2-star movie is a movie that I'm just like, I'm angry that I saw it. I want my time back. Whereas this one was just like a shoulder shrug of like, water,
Here we are.
Yeah.
Water under the bridge, whatever. It's over. Thank God. Because there is some technological mastery at play here. Like a lot of like you were saying, a lot of the trench scenes was like, wow, this is really impressive for another movie.
Yeah.
I just wish it wasn't in a Kingsman movie. So I will stay at 2.5. However, having also said it's at 2.5, I cannot recommend this movie at all. Whereas there are some movies that are at 2.5 stars where I'm like, it's average, but it's worth your time to see it. No, avoid this one completely.
Yeah. So I thought, just as Rob was talking, I think this movie would have been way more fun as some sort of limited series where a new Merlin was telling Eggsy the story of the Kingsman.
That's a great frame.
And every episode, and they use Taron Egerton as the main character, kind of like a drunk history type thing, where every episode it's like a mission from the Kingsman past.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's Colin Firth as playing like this character, and instead of obviously his own.
I love that.
I think that would have been like a really cool Netflix type thing, or something along those lines. Now I'm sitting here going, I wish I had that instead.
Me too.
Because same idea. Like, here's the mission where we tried to kill Rasputin, and break it up into different stories. Here's the mission where the Archduke was killed, and we had to intervene afterward. That would have been really cool.
Yeah, I love that idea.
I had to get that out. I was literally like signaling to Rodney. I was like, let me talk. I was like, let me talk.
I'm glad you did. That's a great idea. I think that would have solved so many problems.
Ronnie, what were your...
So, this is my thing. I start off my grading based off of would I watch this again. So, to me, if it's a movie I would not watch again, it starts at a 2.5 for me. Right? So, it can go up to a 3, though, but I still wouldn't watch it again. Go down as far as I wanted to. So with that being said, I think there is just way too much that is wrong with this movie. You had no growth with any character at all in this. You could possibly argue you had very little growth with Orlando Oxford. Coming to realization that, oh, my son was right, or even like, oh, Polly is right. I need to snap out of being a drunk right now, and staying in this stage of grief.
Well, if Gemma Arterton made out with me, I'd get over a couple of my issues.
Yeah, right. But I just think there was just so much wrong and not enough good to keep it at a 2.5. So I'm gonna give this movie a 2.
Wow. We don't usually get. You're usually the way more optimistic out of all.
Yeah, no. I just, to me, the only bright spot is Djimon Hounsou.
Okay.
Yeah, other than that, there's nothing else that kind of stands out. Yes, there are cool moments. I am a sucker for war movies. So again, the whole Trent scene and everything, and then him running back with the English spy that was German. Like, don't get me wrong, that to me is beautiful. I actually would compare that to the Wonder Woman scene. Of her running through the battlefield.
That's a good one.
Almost.
Good comparison.
Thank you. So like to me, that's really it. That whole entire trench scene and Djimon Hounsou is the only bright spot about this. This is why I have to give it a 2.
Nice.
Rough.
Yeah.
Rough.
I
First 2 of 2022.
Wow.
Yeah, right? That's why I did it. No, not really. But I think that's going to wrap us up for today's discussion of The Kingsman. But before we go, we do have our fan feedback Friday.
Why'd you make it sound like suggestive?
Because I was stalling for you.
Having said that, fan feedback Friday, I just want to say that Friday was a snow day for the school, so I didn't get to ask my students. So I'm sorry.
That's
a
totally
little
fine.
sparser
They
than
could
usual.
also just follow the
They-
Multiverse
and
Fancast
some of them
on
do.
Facebook and answer themselves.
Sorry, I said a bad word, guys. Now I feel bad. So the question was, obviously, with the beginning of the new year, what superhero show or movie are you most hyped about for the year? And we got a couple, yeah. We had Superman and Lois and the Multiverse of Madness from our friend Mike. Our friend Ryan said Multiverse of Madness and Moon Knight and the Boys. Yeah. I still can't believe that this one was said. And somebody even commented, I can't believe this one was said, basically. The Batman by Rob.
Yeah, I gotta say
The new the trailers are really getting me hyped. Let's see, Miss Marvel and She-Hulk also. We have Ahsoka. I totally forget about the Star Wars things that are coming out. I just started watching Boba Fett, Moon Knight, and The Boys. So a lot of the same stuff. But I mean, it's going to be a good year, at least definitely for the TV stuff. I'm very excited to see, though. We have a lot of good movies coming out in 2022.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm actually kind of surprised some stuff wasn't mentioned too. You know, like
Which?
Morbius. Just kidding. Sorry, I had to. I
Hey,
had to say
you know what though? It's like when you're driving on the highway and there's an accident. We all stop and look.
I
I want to see this
I was-
this train
Yeah.
wreck of an accident.
I was actually thinking maybe next week's Feedback Friday question should be, what upcoming film or television show are you planning to be disappointed by?
See, I would not be disappointed by Morbius because I'd be going in there expecting
Yeah,
disappointment.
my low
And if you
expectations.
expect disappointment,
You won't be disappointed.
yes.
Is that what you told Jackie when you proposed?
Yep. And she went, "You're right. I say yes."
Nailed it.
But that's going to wrap us up for today. Don't forget that you can take us on the go with Podbean, Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, or any other listening station. You can also find all of our content on themisfitfaction.com, where you get access to our podcast as well as Rob's Corner, where he does some writing and everything. And then you can also follow us on Instagram, The Misfit Faction. You can find us on Facebook, The Misfit Faction Media Network, as well as obviously the Multiverse Fancast. That's going to wrap us up, and we will see you when we see you next.
As always, he's
Phil.
Reese Ifans.
I am Arthur.
I'm Lancelot.
and I'm worried about the future of our podcast.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm Ronnie.
I'm Paul. Oh, we're doing it. Okay.
And I'm Rob.
And we'll be back in a flash.
Zvetsky Stol, which is Russian for smorgasbord.